The Roman Empire, a name whispered in awe by its citizens, a name spoken in fear by its enemies. But what if this mighty empire faced a foe unlike any it had ever encountered? Imagine a world where the very air is thick with dread. At its zenith, the Roman Empire was a force of nature. Its legions were renowned for their discipline, their training, and their unwavering tenacity. The Roman army was a finely tuned machine of war, capable of crushing any enemy that dared to stand against it. The Roman Empire was a beacon of civilization, a testament to the power of human ingenuity and ambition. But even the mightiest empire can be brought low, and in the face of a relentless, unstoppable enemy like the undead, even the legions of Rome would find themselves pushed to their very limits. Imagine the terror that would grip the hearts of even the bravest legionary as they faced an enemy that knew no fear, no pain, no mercy. Could their disciplined formations hold against a tide of shambling corpses? The first type of undead horror to confront the might of Rome would be the classic slow zombie. These lumbering corpses, driven only by a primal hunger for living flesh, might appear at first glance to be the least threatening of the undead threats. But the legions of Rome, masters of battlefield strategy, would quickly learn that these creatures possessed a different kind of danger, the danger of overwhelming numbers. The slow zombies were not just a physical threat. They were a creeping dread, a gnawing fear that would eat away at the very heart of the Roman Empire. If the slow zombies represented a relentless tide, the fast zombies were a raging torrent, a whirlwind of gnashing teeth and grasping claws. These creatures, driven by a primal fury, were a force of nature unleashed. The Roman legions, masters of disciplined warfare, would find their formations useless against the lightning-fast assaults of the fast zombies. The fast zombies were not just a threat to Roman lives. They were a threat to the very fabric of Roman society. The Whispers began in Gaul, a distant province on the very edge of the Roman Empire. Rumors carried by traders and travelers spoke of a strange sickness gripping a remote village. The villagers, once peaceful farmers and artisans, had become inexplicably violent, attacking their neighbors with a ferocity that defied explanation. The Roman Empire, for all its might, was built upon a foundation of order, of laws and legions, of reason and discipline. News of the strange events in Gaul eventually reached Rome, carried by swift messengers riding day and night along the empire's famed roads. The Roman Senate, ever vigilant in its duty to protect the empire, treated these reports with a mixture of skepticism and concern. The legions, the iron fist of Roman authority, were dispatched to investigate and contain the threat. And so, the legions marched north, the golden eagle of Rome held high, little knowing that they marched towards a horror unlike any they had ever encountered. The first encounters between the legions and the creatures that would come to be known as zombies were shrouded in confusion and disbelief. The legionaries, trained to face down charging barbarians and disciplined enemy formations, found themselves confronting an enemy that defied all logic, all reason. The creatures moved with an unsettling gait, their bodies seemingly untouched by pain or injury. The Whispers from Gaul, once dismissed as mere superstition, now echoed with terrifying clarity in the minds of the legionaries. As reports of the growing crisis in Gaul filtered back to Rome, a sense of unease settled over the empire. The Senate, accustomed to dealing with threats from the known world, found itself grappling with a foe it could not comprehend. Rumors and speculation filled the void left by reliable information. The Roman Empire, for all its might, found itself facing an enemy unlike any it had ever encountered. The Roman Empire, at the height of its power, was a fortress civilization. Its cities, strategically placed and heavily fortified, were testaments to Roman engineering prowess and military discipline. These cities, with their high walls, sturdy gates, and well-trained garrisons, would become crucial strongholds in the fight against the undead hordes. The Roman military was a well-oiled machine, each part working in concert with the others. The Roman legions were renowned for their adaptability, their ability to modify their tactics to suit the terrain and the enemy. Against the shambling hordes of the undead, one formation would prove particularly effective: the testudo, or tortoise. This formation, used to great effect in sieges and street fighting, involved legionaries locking their shields together, creating a moving fortress of wood and iron. The legions would need to find a balance between the impenetrable defense of the testudo and the flexibility to adapt to the ever-changing tides of the undead horde. The Roman Empire was not just a military power, it was an empire built on engineering ingenuity. Roman engineers, renowned for their roads, aqueducts, and fortifications, would play a vital role in the fight against the undead. Trenches, pits, and caltrops, simple yet effective obstacles, could be deployed quickly and cheaply to channel the movement of the undead hordes, making them vulnerable to concentrated attacks. The Roman engineers, then, would become architects of death. Their ingenuity and resourcefulness turned to the task of transforming the very landscape into a weapon against the undead. Section 4. A war on two fronts: fortifications and fear. For all the strength of their fortifications and the ingenuity of their tactics, the Romans would face a challenge that no wall, no weapon, could fully address: fear. The undead, with their relentless advance, their grotesque appearance, and their very nature as creatures that defied death itself, struck at the heart of human fear. The Roman Empire, for all its military might, was held together by a fragile fabric of order and belief. The zombie apocalypse, with its potential to unravel the social order, to shatter religious beliefs, and to sow panic among the populace, posed a threat that went beyond the purely physical. Maintaining morale, then, would be as crucial as maintaining defenses. The Roman authorities would need to find ways to counter the psychological impact of the undead, to prevent fear from turning into panic, and to maintain the loyalty and discipline of the legions in the face of unimaginable horrors. The Romans, with their strong sense of duty, their belief in the empire, and their pragmatic approach to problem solving, were well equipped to face this challenge. They would need to draw upon all their reserves of courage, resilience, and adaptability to fight this war on two fronts: against the undead hordes that threatened their lives, and against the fear that threatened to consume their very souls. The lifeline of the empire: Rome's logistical might. The Roman army was a complex and well-oiled machine, thanks to a logistical system centuries ahead of its time. The famed Roman roads connected distant provinces to Rome. These roads, built for rapid movement, were both a blessing and a curse in a zombie apocalypse. They allowed swift deployment of troops and supplies. Messengers could travel quickly, warning of threats and coordinating defenses. The roads carried food, weapons, medicine, and other essential supplies, but even this well-oiled machine would be pushed to its limits by the undead. Roads of blood and bone, securing supply lines. The very roads that were the lifeline of the Roman Empire would also become potential death traps in the face of a zombie apocalypse. The undead, drawn by the scent of living flesh, would be attracted to the roads, where they would lie in wait for unsuspecting travelers, merchants, and even heavily armed legions. Protecting these vital arteries of the empire would become a constant and costly battle. Scouting parties, ranging far ahead of the main columns, would need to identify and neutralize zombie threats before they could ambush supply trains or disrupt the flow of reinforcements. Maintaining the roads themselves would also be a challenge. The undead, lacking any sense of self-preservation, would often stumble into ditches, become trapped in mud, or simply collapse and rot in place, creating obstacles that could slow down or even halt the movement of wagons and legions. The Roman army, accustomed to facing human enemies who could be reasoned with, bribed, or intimidated, would find itself facing a foe that cared nothing for strategy, that could not be deterred by threats or displays of force. The undead were a force of nature, as relentless and unpredictable as a flood or a wildfire. The hunger of the legions, feeding an army at war. An army, as the saying goes, marches on its stomach. The Roman legions, renowned for their discipline and endurance, were no exception. A legionary on the march could consume upwards of 4 pounds of grain per day, in the form of bread, porridge, or hardtack biscuits. Maintaining this steady supply of food for hundreds of thousands of soldiers was a logistical challenge even in peacetime. In the midst of a zombie apocalypse, it would become a matter of survival. The Roman Empire, with its vast agricultural output, had the resources to feed its armies, but transporting those resources to the front lines, where they were needed most, would be a constant struggle. The loss of even a single supply train to a zombie ambush could have devastating consequences, leaving legions short on rations and vulnerable to attack. The Roman army, accustomed to a varied diet that included meat, cheese, olive oil, and vegetables, would need to adapt to a more austere menu, relying heavily on preserved foods like salted pork, dried fruits, and hardtack biscuits. These rations, while nutritious, were far from appetizing, and the monotony of the diet could take a toll on morale. The hunger of the legions, then, would be a constant concern for Roman commanders, a nagging reminder that even the mightiest army could be brought low by something as simple as an empty stomach. Section 4. From abundance to scarcity, the strain on resources. The Roman Empire, at its peak, was a land of abundance. Its fertile fields produced a surplus of grain. Its mines yielded vast quantities of iron and other metals, and its workshops churned out weapons, tools, and other essential goods. But the zombie apocalypse, with its disruption of trade, its displacement of populations, and its constant drain on manpower, would inevitably lead to shortages of even the most basic necessities. The Roman army, while accustomed to living off the land, would find itself increasingly reliant on a shrinking pool of resources. Metal, essential for forging weapons and armor, would become increasingly scarce, forcing the legions to rely on captured enemy equipment or to melt down old tools and implements. The Roman Empire, built on the foundations of trade, agriculture, and industry, would find its very foundations crumbling in the face of a relentless enemy that cared nothing for the complexities of civilization. The zombie apocalypse would force the Romans to confront a stark reality. Even the mightiest empire is only as strong as its ability to feed its people and arm its defenders. Governing in the age of the undead. The Roman Senate, once the supreme governing body, faced an unprecedented crisis in the zombie apocalypse. Roman law and governance, designed for order, were tested as undead hordes spread chaos. Communication became fragmented as messengers fell prey to zombie ambushes. The Senate, isolated, relied on rumors to make crucial decisions. Traditional governance proved ill-suited to the unpredictable nature of a zombie apocalypse. Local officials made decisions on their own, often without Senate guidance. The Senate faced a choice: cling to old ways or adapt to a decentralized approach. Section 2. From Pax Romana to Panic, the Unraveling Social Order. The Roman Empire, for all its military might, was built upon a foundation of social order, a delicate balance of power and privilege, duty and obedience. This order, maintained by the rule of law, the strength of the legions, and the shared belief in the Pax Romana, would be shattered by the zombie apocalypse, exposing the raw nerves of fear and desperation that lurked beneath the surface of Roman society. The traditional social hierarchy, with its clear divisions between citizen and slave, patrician and plebeian, would break down as the sheer terror of the undead threat reduced all Romans to their primal instincts. The instinct to survive, to protect one's own, and to escape the relentless hunger of the dead. Rumors and superstition, once confined to the fringes of Roman society, would flourish in the fertile ground of fear and uncertainty. The old gods, once worshipped with confidence and certainty, would seem distant and powerless in the face of an enemy that defied death itself. New cults, promising salvation or vengeance, would spring up, offering false hope to a desperate populace. The zombie apocalypse, then, would not just be a physical threat to the Roman Empire, it would be a social and psychological earthquake, shaking the very foundations of Roman civilization, exposing the fragility of order, and unleashing the dark potential of human nature. Section 3. Gods and Monsters, Religion in the Face of the Apocalypse. The Roman Empire, for all its pragmatism and military prowess, was a deeply religious society. Its citizens worshipped a pantheon of gods, each with their own domain and influence. The zombie apocalypse would shake the foundations of Roman religious belief to their core. Some saw it as divine retribution for the empire's sins. Others turned to superstition, mysticism, or foreign cults. The priesthood's influence waned as rituals failed to stop the undead. Some priests found new purpose in ministering to the sick and dying. The apocalypse was a time of profound religious upheaval, shattering old certainties and birthing new faiths. Section 4. Seeds of Discontent, the Erosion of Trust and Authority. The Roman Empire, for all its outward strength and unity, was not immune to fear, suspicion, and resentment. The zombie apocalypse disrupted order, created shortages, and seemed unstoppable, sowing seeds of discontent as dangerous as the undead. The common people, burdened by taxes, envied the wealthy elite. Rumors spread, whispered in marketplaces, of senators abandoning the city, leaving common people to fend for themselves. The legions, symbols of order, faced divisions, soldiers from different provinces, strained by constant fighting. The apocalypse tested the Roman Empire's strength and exposed societal fault lines. The true test was not just surviving the undead, but surviving the disintegration of social and political order. The Eagle and the Apocalypse. Could Rome endure? Could the Roman Empire, at its zenith, withstand the onslaught of the living dead? Rome possessed the military might and logistical genius to combat a zombie horde. Its legions, masters of discipline and tactical adaptation, could weather the initial onslaught. The Roman roads could be used to funnel the undead and deliver decisive strikes. But Rome's reliance on centralized authority and social inequalities could become liabilities. The zombie apocalypse would test Rome, exploiting its weaknesses with ruthless efficiency. Echoes of Rome. Lessons from a fallen empire. Even if the Roman Empire, through a combination of military might, logistical flexibility, and sheer force of will, managed to initially withstand the zombie apocalypse, the conflict would leave an indelible mark upon its social, political, and cultural landscape. The very nature of the undead threat, its relentless advance, its disregard for human notions of order and reason, would force the Romans to confront their own mortality, to question the very foundations of their civilization. The Roman Empire, born in an era of conquest and expansion, might find itself forced to contract, to consolidate its power behind fortified cities, to abandon its far-flung provinces to the relentless advance of the undead. The centralized authority of the Senate, already strained by the vastness of the empire, might give way to a more decentralized system, as local governors and military commanders assumed greater autonomy in their struggle for survival. The zombie apocalypse, then, would be a crucible in which the Roman Empire would be tested, tempered, and ultimately transformed. Whether this transformation would lead to renewal or to a slow, agonizing decline would depend on the choices made by its leaders, the resilience of its people, and the unpredictable hand of fate itself. The echoes of this struggle, however, would reverberate through the ages, a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable darkness. The undying spirit, resilience, and adaptation. The Roman spirit, forged in the fires of countless trials, was nothing if not resilient. The Roman Empire faced invasions, disasters, plagues, and strife, emerging scarred but unbroken. Their capacity for adaptation and innovation would be crucial in a zombie apocalypse. Masters of engineering and logistics, the Romans would adapt their skills to fight the undead. New weapons would be forged to exploit the weaknesses of the undead. Fortifications would be strengthened, incorporating lessons from each encounter. The Roman spirit extended beyond pragmatism and military prowess. They possessed a deep sense of community and a willingness to sacrifice for Rome. The zombie apocalypse would test Roman strength and character, reaffirming their values. Rome Resurgent, a legacy forged in fire. The zombie apocalypse would not simply be a period of darkness and despair. It would be a crucible, a transformative fire from which a new Rome could emerge. The relentless undead threat would force a reassessment of priorities. The Roman Empire might emerge more inward-looking, focused on consolidation. Lessons learned from battling the undead would be woven into the fabric of this new Rome. The zombie apocalypse would not be the end of the Roman story. It would be a new chapter, a time of profound change and opportunity. From the ashes, a new Rome could rise, its spirit unbroken, its legacy secured by resilience.